Hi, Tony. How are you doing?
Good. How are you, Luke?
I am doing quite well. It's an honor to get to talk to you. I've heard you on all of Peter Gabriel albums and everything, and now we actually get to talk about your album, your latest album, I should be precise. Though, as you pointed out in that Rick Beato interview, it's technically not a solo album, but I'm just going to run with it and call it a solo album anyway, bringing it down to the base.
Funny.
It's been out for about, a week and a half now. What's the reaction thus far from fans, followers, etc. to it?
You're talking about the reaction to the album?
To the album, yeah.
Yes, because I've been on the road solid with this Beat tour, I haven't had any contact with anybody plus the album. I'm thrilled that people are starting to hear it, and I think it's my job to get the word out about it, but I've just kind of been immersed in this tour, the beginning of it. So it's the beginning of that process for me. I'm thrilled to have the album out. I had a lot of fun making it and having some of my favorite musicians join me on the music of it. And we do have it on the tour, actually. We're selling it. So I've seen the CD. It showed up on our tour. We're selling it on the tour. And I'm thrilled that it's finally out.
Well, that's good.
It took me a while to get it done.
Good that it's out there. People can actually tangibly hold it. On me and my acts, I'll start right there, given I mentioned the Peter Gabriel thing. So given that that's kind of a early era Peter Gabriel album reunion of sorts, if he had been able to sing or contribute to me and my acts, how would he have done that?
Wow, that's a deep question. First of all, I would have loved that. That would have been fantastic. I didn't think I asked him. Maybe he would have. That track came about. I envisioned the bass, fretless bass, playing the melody and trading it in the same way as me and my acts was about two elements. Me and my instrument, trading off the melody with a really singing, wonderful guitar part melody. And I thought, well, Steve Hunter, the Deacon, Steve Hunter, whom I played with on Peter Gabriel's first album, among many others, would be perfect for that. And I was very lucky he was available. So in a way, it's a duet back and forth between those two. The idea of having a voice, a real voice, sing and putting lyrics on it would have been a great idea. Frankly, it didn't even occur to me, but that would have been great. And by the way, having brought in Steve Hunter, I thought, well, let me get some other alumni of the Peter Gabriel band. Larry Fast is an amazing synth player who was a good friend of mine still. Brought him in, and Jerry Marotta on drums.
Speaking of instruments, of all the assorted instruments that you played on this album, between the Steinberger fretless and the stick and the cello and all of that, which one did you find... Again, this is a little bit of a vague question, but I'll ask it anyway. Is there a song you found most special to use one of the instruments, or you found a certain way to get one on? You're like, I'm glad I was able to use this instrument on this album.
That's a very good question, and the answer is almost every song is that way. Almost every piece, the composition of it began with a bass sound or a bass technique. For instance, okay, I want to play funk fingers. It's the drumsticks I've developed for play. What's the best bass I have? It'll work with all of them, but it's better for some, especially technically if the strings are very high and it can handle really pounding on it. And so I have this, ironically, the bass that I have here on tour, Three of a Perfect Pair bass from the 80s, a 4-string. And so, I really worked on tweaking the bass sound of each piece and on that one. And so when I finally got that riff down, then I finished a composition about it, and then I started asking other players to play on it. So in the same way, you mentioned the Steinberger bass. I have the first bass designed by Ned Steinberger, a fretless, very special fretless, and I thought, well, what's something that can really feature this? And I thought, well, what if I ask Robert Fripp to donate one of his soundscapes, and I just play a singing melody over that with that particular sound? So great question. I could go on as you can tell, I could go on all day about that because there's 14 songs and 14 basses.
Of course, then there's the one that's basically vocals on the drums.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, actually, yeah. I during lockdown year when I was a little bit insane from not having any touring or shows, I decided, what if I wrote a song using only the names of drummers that I played with, and I started compiling a list of drummers, and it's a lot of drummers because I've been doing this a long time, and I'm very lucky to have played with them. And secondly, put them together in some kind of musical way that I can sing a choral piece, and that's called On the Drums. And I threw it on the album. It doesn't belong with all these bass pieces, but I thought, in a way, it's a fitting tribute to the drummers, the great drummers I played with, who have had a big influence on me as a musician.
Think any of us liner notes or Discogs credit types or that's like we're drawn to that one because like, okay, you got that one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Was there anybody you could not fit in there, you realized afterwards, or you just couldn't quite get it into the syncing of all of the, besides all the Steve Gadd?
Good point. There were both. There were a few that just wouldn't fit. Boy, most, I can tell you what few people have realized is most drummers' names don't rhyme with other drummers' names. Very few rhymes in there. But there were a few names that couldn't fit in, but then subsequent to recording it, I thought of about 30 or 40 other drummers who I just didn't think of putting in.
Would have been like a 20-minute song on the song of an album with all the bases, and that's the one. How did the video, with all of those animated slight variations of you, you're slightly changing in the video for the title track, how did that video come about?
Oh, very simple. A friend of mine made it. He said, hey, can I make a video of you? And the only thing that it's got a lot of me in it. It's cool. It's funny. And at the end, because he knows me, he put in a West Highland Terrier Westie because he knows I have Westies. And I said, is it possible to put in 4 Westies? Because I have 4 of them. And he said, it's not easy, but I'll do it. And that's the only change I made. And he really did great. His name is AJ Chippero.
It's a very good video, very colorful video as well. So that
absolutely
is a nice touch on that. Before we let you go, Beat and performing. Thus far, you said you've been obviously been having the tour dates going to be up around here, Madison, Minneapolis, November 3rd and 4th, respectively. So is there a certain piece of all of these 80s era King Crimson songs, or what's getting the best reaction in these few tour dates you've had thus far?
We've done about 10 shows, and I have one today, and I'm here in Atlanta. I'm looking forward to coming there with the show. We're really having a ball. It's because of the members, Steve Vai playing guitar and Danny Carey of Tool playing drums, and Adrian Belew and myself from the original band. It's different than the original, but it's really true to it, and it's a hoot. It's exciting. The audiences have been loving it, and we've been having a ball seeing where these pieces can go. They're not at all like they were in the 80s, but they are like they were in the 80s. So it's, you know what I mean? It's not a cover band. We're not doing them exactly the same. So it's good fun for everybody, and most importantly, the fans, the Crimson fans, who are pretty particular, seem to be really enjoying it.
Okay, that's the most important part. The fans are into it.
It is important, yeah.
Exactly. It's for them, and they get a chance to hear more of it, and they get a chance to hear more of you. And hopefully anyone listening to this, buy the CD, Bringing It Down to the Bass, newly out, Tony Levin.
I appreciate it.
Yes, it's been an honor to get a chance to talk to you. All the best going forward with the tour and all the more music to come.
Thanks so much, Luke. Thanks for having me.